from the Bureau of Economic Analysis. Let's see what's going on. All right. So let me search for gross domestic product. So what is the gross domestic product? Let's run through that real quick. So, the GDP is like a scorecard for the economy. It tells us the total value of everything. Um, all the goods and services produced within a country in one year. So breaking it down, goods are things that you can touch and see, like cars, books, and toys. Services are activities that people do for others, like teaching, haircuts, and media checkups, and YouTube live streaming, sharing amazing technical content at the only Tech Coach Ralph channel. That's a service. That is a service. All right. So why is GDP important? Measuring economic health, GDP helps us understand how well the economy is doing. When the GDP is high, it means people are producing a lot and buying lots of things. When the GDP is low, it means the economy might be in trouble and people might be producing and buying less. Comparing countries. So GDP allows us to compare the size and health of different countries' economies. For example, if one country has a higher GDP than the other, it generally means it has a stronger economy. It helps with government decisions. Government uses the GDP to make important decisions. For example, if the GDP is growing, they might decide to build more schools and hospitals. If GDP is shrinking, they might look for ways to boost the economy. Business planning, businesses look at GDP to decide whether to expand, hire more workers, or invest in new projects. High GDP usually means good times, celebrate good times. Come on, for businesses, while low GDP can signal tougher times ahead. All right, so that is a breakdown of GDP. Let's get an example of GDP real quick. Do we do the nursing example or do we do the wire? Let's go, it's December. Let's go with the wire. So, in The Wire, the economy operates on many levels. So if you guys don't know, The Wire HBO special where we had Avon Barksdale, we had his goofy little cousin, we had Marlo, we had Stringer Bell, we had Omar. We had Bodie. Remember Bodie? We had when I forgot his name on the show, but we had what's the actor from Creed? Michael B. Johnson, right? Or Michael B. Jordan. He was there. He got taken out, unfortunately. But he was kind of weak in the show as well. So, so in The Wire, the economy operates on many levels, from the drug trade to law enforcement to education, and each contributes to or reflects parts of GDP in different ways. So, production of goods and services, the drug trade, right? So in the show, drug organizations like those led by Avon Barksdale and Marlo Stanfield produce and distribute illegal drugs through Baltimore. Though these are underground operations and don't officially count in GDP since they are, illegal, they represent a clear example of an economic system in motion. People in this economy are creating goods, drugs, and services, distribution and sales that drive local economic activity in their own way. Not a legal way, but it is in a way, right? In a formal economy, the production and sale of goods and services would be counted in GDP. For example, if we replace the drug trade with something like a chain of legal, keyword illegal, corner stores, the stores would contribute to the GDP through revenue from sales and employment, right? So employment and wages on the street level, okay? So street level employment. The drug trade in The Wire employs a hierarchy of people: street dealers, muscle, lookout, and stash house operators. Just as legal businesses contribute to the employment numbers, these roles contribute to what might be considered an informal economy because, it is illegal. However, in a legitimate GDP measurement, all legal employment, like the jobs created by a retail chain or public services, would count as labor income and be reflected in GDP, gross domestic product, right? For example, when the city employs more police officers or teachers, it contributes to GDP. The Wire shows us both sides: the illicit economy creating informal jobs and the formal economy where people work in schools, hospitals, and the police force. So when we had, what was his name? I don't remember these people's name, but the McNulty, I think, was it McNulty, who was the cop who started off on The Wire and had the conversation with the guy after, like, on the crime scene. We had the I can't remember their name, but the one who initiated Amsterdam, not Amsterdam, but Hamsterdam, right? And so he was a police officer. We had the teachers in the schools, we had the politicians, the dock workers, all of that good stuff, right? So if we continue, we go to government spending, police, education, and public housing. In The Wire, much of the formal economy in Baltimore's poorest neighborhoods is based on government spending. Police, social workers, teachers, and public housing maintenance workers all depend on government funding. This spending is a crucial component of GDP under the government expenditures category. For instance, police and criminal justice, money spent on law enforcement, court systems, and prisons contribute to GDP. Education. Schools and education programs, although often underfunded, are also part of government spending. Characters like Bunny Coven, Bunny Coven, who had the Amsterdam, right? Characters like Bunny Coven experiment with education and reform, which represents different ways government spending could shape GDP in the long term by creating more skilled workers and reducing time. Keep in mind though, Avon Barksdale, because he needed a front for his operations, so he had the boxing gym, right? Because he needed some type of some type of legitimacy, and keep in mind, Marlowe's lawyer at the end tried to have him get into business and stuff like that, trying to go the legal route, but it was hard. It was hard, right? So keep that in mind, right? Investments. So real estate and development. Real estate and development or community investments in Baltimore's neighborhoods would be considered capital investments if they were happening legally, and on a larger scale. In The Wire, we see examples of both neglected neighborhoods and wealthier areas being developed. When the city invests in infrastructure, housing, or public spaces, it raises property values and creates jobs, all of which would contribute to GDP. In a healthier economic system, legitimate investments improve neighborhoods, attract businesses, and create economic opportunities, all of which contribute to GDP growth. Unfortunately, The Wire often shows the opposite, a lack of investment, which leads to economic stagnation in communities. So The Wire is a good example of a weak GDP, especially for poorer neighborhoods, right? And then we have, lastly, consumer spending, daily purchases and consumption. Most everyday spending shown in The Wire, like people buying food, clothes, and small goods, represent consumer spending, the largest component of GDP. For example, when a character spends money at small stores or bars, they're engaging in consumer spending, which helps local businesses running and adds to the economy. So when they're going to buy their alcoholic beverages, going to buy some fancy clothes to go out to the club, or it gets cold, they have to go buy these hoodies and stuff like, or when Snoop and what was the other? Oh my gosh, what was his? I forgot his name. But Snoop and the other guy, when they were going to do one of their actions, they would have to get their hoodies and they would put the hoodie up in The Wire. Every time you see the hoodie comes up, something bad is about to happen. All right, so. Let's see where we're at. Adds to the economy. All right. So, however, The Wire highlights that in low-income communities, disposable income is often limited, leading to lower consumer spending and fewer local businesses. This is reflective of how consumer spending patterns can vary based on wealth distribution, which has a ripple effect on GDP. So, in summary, what The Wire teaches about the GDP. Using The Wire as a lens for GDP shows us how complex and interwoven different sectors of an economy can be, even when parts of it are quote unquote off the books. The show illustrates formal and informal economies coexist, impacting the community in different ways. Government spending on social programs, education, and law enforcement plays a critical role in community well-being. Investment, or lack thereof, shapes long-term economic prospects. Consumer spending is affected by income inequality and job availability. While The Wire paints in a realistic portrait of economic challenges, it also shows how various elements of GDP shape people's lives and choices in deeply interconnected ways. This makes it a powerful example of how economics, policy, and social dynamics all play out in real life communities. So that's that. I think that's the first time we actually read this new breakdown of GDP, and that was very, very informative, I must say. Let me know what you guys think. Did you think that was helpful and informative? I will check that in the comments as we as we go to the comments after we actually look at the GDP numbers. Okay, so we have from so these are upcoming releases. Where are the past releases? Let me see. So we have, let me see, full schedule. So we should be looking at over here. Let me see. Where is it? So we were looking for November 27th. This one right here. Let's see what this is. So the real gross domestic product (GDP) increased at an annual rate of 2.8% in the third quarter of 2024, according to the second estimate released by the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis. In the second quarter, real GDP increased 3.3%. The GDP estimate released today is based on a more complete source data than were available for the advanced estimate issued last month. In the advanced estimate, the increase in real GDP was also 2.8%. The update primarily reflected upward revision to private inventory investment and non-residential fixed investments, as well as a downward revision to exports and consumer spending. So pretty much so exports are down, consumer spending is down, but private inventory investment and non-residential fixed investment are up. Imports, which are subtracted in the calculation of GDP, were revised down. So imports are down as well, I guess. But see, the increase in real GDP primarily reflected increases in consumer spending, exports, federal government spending, and non-residential fixed investments. Imports, which are subtracted in the calculation of GDP, increased. Table number 2. It says, compared to the second quarter, the deceleration in real GDP in the third quarter primarily reflected a downturn in private inventory investment and a larger decrease in residential fixed investment. These movements were partly offset by accelerations in exports, consumer spending, and federal government spending. So we're spending more money. Okay. Let's see. Current dollar GDP increased 4.7% at an annual rate of 337.6 billion in the third quarter to a level of 29.35 trillion, an upward revision of 4.4 billion from the previous estimates. More information on the source data that underlies estimates is available. The price index for gross domestic purchases increased 1.9% in the third quarter, an upward revision of 0.1%. The personal consumption expenditure index increased 1.5%, the same as previously estimated. Let's see, current dollar personal income increased at 175.9 billion in the third quarter, a downward revision of 45.3 billion. Disposable personal income increased at 122.9 billion, or 2.3%. A down revision of 43.1 billion from the previous estimate. So disposable personal income went down from their previous estimate. Personal savings was 934.4 billion in the third quarter, a downward revision of 34 billion from the previous estimate. So that's down. Personal savings as a percentage of disposable income was 4.3% in the third quarter. Also downward revision of all those only 0.5 percentage points. Gross domestic income and corporate profits, real GDI increased 2.2% in the third quarter, compared with an increase of 2% revised in the second quarter. Profits from current production decreased. So profits decreased 10.2 billion in the third quarter, in contrast to an increase of 132.5 billion in the second quarter. So profits went down in the third quarter so far. Profits of domestic financial corporations decreased 2.6 billion in the third quarter, in contrast to an increase of 42.5 billion in the second quarter. So profits for domestic financial corps also went down, and profits for domestic non-financial corps increased 30.8 billion, compared to an increase of 108.8 billion. Rest of the world profits decreased 38.3 billion, compared with a decrease of 18.8 billion. In the third quarter, receipts decreased 52.5 billion and payments decreased 14.2 billion, right? So that is our GDP numbers for the third quarter. So this is the second estimate of gross domestic product reading for the third quarter, right? So that is that. We're going to go to full screen. I'm going to check the chat to see what is going on in there.
Yeah, men lying, women lying, numbers manipulate. Don't matter what no one say, I throw the stats away. No need for calculators, we already greater. No need to validate us. It's Tech Coach Ralph TV. Get up, it is Saturday morning. I've got got to get my coffee cause I can't stop yawning. Get to watch my favorite show today. Men lie, women lie, numbers manipulate. Tech coach Ralph and Mitch and Yakar, that's how it be. Shooting galaxies from their hands, it's Tech Coach Ralph TV. You don't need to grab your remote because you'll be floating free. Don't gotta worry about negative forces, it's positivity. Get up, it is Saturday morning. I've got to get my coffee cause I can't stop yawning. Get to watch my favorite show today. Men lie, women lie, numbers manipulate. Get up, it is Saturday morning. I've got to get my coffee cause I can't stop the yawning. But I get to watch my favorite show today. Men lie, women lie, numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Men lie, women lie. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Men lie, women lie. Numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate. Tech Coach Ralph and Mitch and Yakar, that's how it be. Shooting galaxies from their hands, it's Tech Coach Ralph TV. You don't need to grab your remote because you'll be floating free. Don't gotta worry about negative forces, it's positivity. Tech Coach Ralph and Mitch and Yakar, that's how it be. Shooting galaxies from their hands, it's Tech Coach Ralph TV. You don't need to grab your remote because you'll be floating free. Don't gotta worry about negative forces, it's positivity. Get up, it is Saturday morning. I've got to get my coffee cause I can't stop yawning. Get to watch my favorite show today. Men lie, women lie, numbers manipulate. Yeah, number manipulate. Yeah, numbers manipulate. Yeah, numbers manipulate. Numbers manipulate.